Hi, thanks for joining us today. I wanted to recreate the classes that I was teaching on the ship because I feel like a lot of them were just really simple exercises that were honestly calming and somewhat meditative, but it also just breaks us into dealing with our supplies so that we kind of lose that intimidation factor around them. Okay, so today's lesson, I'm just going to be working with some colored pencils. I selected 5 here, so they kind of make a nice little rainbow in color. And we're just going to go ahead, and what we're going to be building today is just a nice little field of trees. Here's mine here. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm essentially going to be recreating this drawing right here. So we're going to go ahead and do that step by step. Okay, so what I've got right now is just a set of 5 colored pencils. They're all kind of in a similar vein to this color scheme right here. So I started with a yellow, worked through an orange. Mine's going to have a little bit of a pink in it, and then to a darker red. Okay, so if you just got a set of colored pencils, this is a nice basic exercise to get us started. Pretty relaxing. It's not going to take a full hour. It might even be as short as 20 minutes, okay? So first thing I would recommend, get your pencils organized, get them sharpened. I always say that the most intimidating part of any workshop or any piece of art, it's that initial blank sheet of paper. So here we have it. It's staring us in the face. So I'm going to just go ahead and just do some little color swatches down the side. Just working through my different shades that I'll be using in my drawing. So this does a few things. 1, it actually just brings visual interest to the piece of paper right off the bat. But 2, it kind of allows me to just organize myself and just see, moving from light to dark, what it is that I want to do with organizing my colors. Okay, so these are Prismacolor pencil crayons. So their lead is quite soft, which means that you go through it really, really quickly. If you're gonna try this out and you wanted to get something that's not gonna be a huge investment, I would even start with something like Crayola. We worked with those on the ship and they were great. They went far. But the first thing I always like to start with on my drawings is just a box, okay? So if you haven't seen my video for tips on how to draw a straight line, I'll link it in the show notes. I love it. This has taught me so much, but without using a ruler, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to create a box on the page. I'm going to try to leave about a 1-inch border everywhere, maybe even a little more. Okay, so I'm starting in yellow, so I know that's not always the easiest thing to see on video. Okay, and the other thing you're going to notice is that this square is not perfect. Okay, so there I am. We're going to just call it a trapezoid. So here we are, just the basic outline of the box. The first thing I want to start with on an exercise like this is actually a horizon line. So I'm just going to go ahead, divide right across the middle there, and that's it. Okay, so if we just go ahead and look back at our reference photo again, essentially what we're doing is building a field of trees, starting as far back of the horizon line and coming forward. So the beauty of this is you don't necessarily see the steps that went into it, you just kind of enjoy the overall effect that it has. When I look at this, I see kind of the way that the subject builds out and comes towards me. I see the glow with the yellow, that's really enticing to me. But what we're gonna start with is our first layer, so furthest back, we're just gonna start with our first tree. Okay, so I have a background in architecture, and then as well with all of my sketching, I had to learn over time a way to simplify trees out. So what I actually tend to do is I start with a capital letter Y. So just starting here, I'm just gonna draw capital letter Y. So you can see that I'm starting quite small. I'm hugging my horizon line, I'm going above and below it just a little bit. And let's just go ahead and do a little row of these Ys. No particular number needed. I'm gonna just, for fun, I'm gonna go for 6. Okay, they're not perfectly spaced. And then the other thing I might actually do, I'm gonna just put a pathway in here. So this again is gonna lend to our feeling of perspective, and we want this to kind of have a bit of a depth of field to it. So all I need to do to make sure that I get that feeling of distance is I start my path nice and close on the horizon line, and then I'm just gonna really spread it out, make it look like it goes nice and wide as I come down towards the edge of my box or the edge of my view frame. So again, recognizing we're doing everything in yellow right now, that's going to be a little hard on the eyes, but hopefully you're able to see that and follow along. Okay, so what have I got so far? I've got a box, I have a horizon line, I've built up just a very basic tree. Literally, it's just drawing the capital letter Y, and then I put that pathway in there. So I'm going to just fill out those Ys a little bit. We can add in little branches, but honestly, they're not hugely visual right now, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Quick tips that I have discovered for just building in the shape of a tree, you want to just go ahead and mimic shapes that you make a lot with your hands. So I would talk about using a cursive, kind of a loose letter M shape on top, and then a W on the bottom. It's gonna look a little different for all of us, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that now and just fill it in, okay? So these trees are so far away, we can't necessarily see where each individual tree starts and stops. So just for a bit of visual interest, I'm just gonna create 2 clusters to the right and left of the path, okay? So here I go here. So quick and loose. It's pretty light with my pencil, but I'm just kind of creating a bubble shape around the branches of the Y. Okay, I'm gonna do that on both sides. Okay, so again, these trees are pretty far off in the distance. They're not commanding up a ton of space. Okay, you can't even see a whole lot of what's going on here. But what I'm gonna do right now is just go ahead and I'm just gonna color it in. There we go. I've just got kind of a medium pressure with my pencil. I'm not worried too much about that right now. This is our base layer. Right now I'm more worried about the fact that I'm getting rid of that scary blank page. And I'm just using a regular pressure and just kind of straight strokes, not hesitating at all, and kind of just following a rough shape of the tree. Okay, so that's layer 1 down. I'm gonna just graduate up to my next darkest pencil. This one is called Yellow Ochre. So it's a little bit darker. It's kind of this orange shade that you see here. So just like I started before with those Y shapes, I'm just going to come a little bit lower down on my horizon line this time, and I'm going to go a little bit above these branches. So again, letter Y to start. Okay, nothing too complicated there. Stick one there, there, there. Okay. So these ones are a little bit closer, so I think we can actually start to fill them out, add a little bit more detail. So this kind of gives me a really good idea of the basic structure of a tree. It's going to stay balanced, it shouldn't go too far. But what I can do is just have a little bit of fun drawing off some branches. Pardon me. Okay, so I'm kind of just filling out those letter Ys. They look a little funny. But that's just sort of like a skeleton structure of a tree, right? It makes sense to you, okay? And now we're just gonna mimic again that tree canopy. So without overthinking it, kind of making some bubble shapes again, little and big, loose letter M. I'm gonna lump this side of the pathway together and this side of the pathway together. Nice, so I'm going right over top of that first layer of yellow, really not overthinking it. Here we go again. Okay, big bubbles, little bubbles. Let's loop them around. And I'm gonna link to a separate tree tutorial just to fill out the basics of a tree, because we're going to do so many street scenes together over time that it's nice to just know the basic structure of how to put these together. But back to this one right now, I'm gonna just mimic what I did on that first layer. So I'm just going to kind of a light to medium pressure, and I'm just coloring in that tree canopy that I created. Okay, so I'm on the second layer. I'm going right over that initial layer of yellow on the lowest one. Not too concerned, not a really big detail person right now. Okay, this drawing exercise is kind of a bit more meditative. It's definitely low skill level. You know, this is more about having fun with our colored pencils than it is about producing a masterpiece. And I think ultimately that's always what I'm trying to get to. When I talk about a drawing, I'm referring to it as a drawing practice, the same way that you talk about like a yoga practice or a journaling practice. It's not yoga perfect. This is not drawing perfect. We're just practicing and having a little bit of fun with it over time. Okay, so I'm ready to graduate onto layer 3. So I'm going to that kind of salmon color. Pardon me, it's nectar. I love the names of this. I think this is a career calling that I missed actually, is in picking out names of paint colors. Anyways, so I'm getting a little bit closer to my foreground this time. So we're going to come down just a little bit further with the trees. I'm not thinking too much about placement other than the fact that I'm kind of trying to put space between what's already drawn. Okay, so I'm not drawing right over top of anything else. Going with these nice big Ys. So again, they're coming down a little bit closer in that field of vision. They're going up a little bit further than the one before it. Okay, I can even do one. Why not? Let's bust one out of the side here. How about? Okay, so same thing. He's coming right outside the frame of the drawing. Not a big deal. Okay, so I've got that letter Y. I'm going to go ahead, draw those little branches coming off. Okay, great excuse to use those nice straight lines that we've been practicing. We'll go back to that tutorial. Okay, just makes these nice and just confident little strokes. Okay, again, we're going to get a little bit bigger with the branches. Don't worry about that initial box that I brought. and put on the page. To me, this is kind of filling it out. And isn't there anything more exciting than going outside the lines? Really, in a drawing, in life. Let's use this as a metaphor. There we go. Okay, and I'm still coloring them in bunches. And same thing, repeating the first two steps. I'm going right over top of those other layers of color that I had. That's my husband sneezing in the next room. Good, okay, nice and simple. So we're getting down to the foreground, so we'll start to actually put a little bit more detail into our trees. We're gonna start to separate them out a little bit. So we've gotten away with this kind of gentle Y shape so far, but let's try and make this one look a little bit more tree-like to say. Okay, so that means I'm gonna give it just a slightly wider base. Maybe not too wide because I still have one color left to go. Okay, but slightly wider base. I'm gonna start to make that Y look a little less perfect. Okay, a little bit of expression on that one. Same thing, come right across here. I am overlapping some of my shapes, but not overthinking it too much. Okay, so again, we've started with those basic Y shapes. Let's go ahead and just add a few more branches coming off of that. Good, and now once again, we're just gonna fill in the foliage, cloud it out. Okay, I'm still gonna go with my 2 bunches of trees on this side. And it's just a set of trees on this side as well. Okay, so really not keeping too much regard for staying inside the lines. I'm here to have fun, kind of relax. Okay, and again, we're just gonna go in and shade. So same thing, just building atop those other colors that we already laid down. Nice and easy. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we're still pretty relaxed. Plenty of time in this lesson today. I aim for everything to be done in under an hour. It's gonna be more or less sometimes, but anyways. Okay, so last layer, we're gonna go to that really nice red. Oops, crimson red. Crimson it is. I'm just gonna go with 2 trees right in the front, okay? So again, I started to kind of build out these stems just a little bit, so we're gonna make these ones kind of the most distinct that we have, okay? They're in the foreground, they command most of the attention. So all of my branches are gonna have just slightly more structure to them. Okay, they pop out a little more than most. I usually start with that base. It's kind of fun making an imperfect line. Good, okay? So we've got that imperfect line. I know we're getting a bit of a blending pattern going on. And go ahead with the last one. I'm just gonna, same thing, right outside my lines. Have some fun with my tree pattern, my tree canopy. Good. Again, nice. Okay, and once more, I'm just gonna go ahead, shade that in. I'm not really overthinking it. We've just got these nice layers of color built up here. And same here. Okay, so it's a nice chance to just practice those confident strokes with the pencil crayon. Why not? And then let's just go ahead and I'm just gonna fill in my trunk just a little bit. Okay, I'm going with a harder pressure for the trunk and the branches because I do want them to stand out a little. To me, the skeleton of a tree is kind of fun. Okay, and then I'm just gonna kind of lay down my color kind of towards the outside of the tree. So leaning in towards the path here, it's gonna be lighter. But to make that consistent with the source of light for the shadow, over on this side, I'm gonna just again put the shadow or put the color focused towards the right side of the tree and less so on the left. There we go. Okay, so what we've done now, we've done a really good job of filling out kind of the top half of this scene. It's a little naked, for lack of a better term, down here. Okay, so we kind of have built back to front so far. We're gonna go front to back this time. So again, if I'm thinking about a light source and I'm drawing my color on this side of the tree, that means I've got a bit of a shadow coming in. My direction of light is going to be coming in from the left. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just that same Y shape that I've been making here. I'm just going to now have some fun drawing it down just on a 90-degree angle, just going off to the sides like that. Okay, again, I've kind of given up on staying in the lines. Not too concerned about that, I'm just having fun. So that was on that darkest color. I'm gonna just go back a step now to the layer behind it. And same thing, we had a little bit of depth on these tree trunks here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of fill that in. Just give it a little bit more focus. Okay, staying uniform so all my color is sort of showing up on the right side. So this is what I mean about that soft lead. I almost need to sharpen this pencil again, and really I haven't used it that much. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and just start following that direction of light. Okay, I'm not even worried about going behind him, going behind other objects. I can just draw right over top of them. There we go. And it's just kind of fun to have some fun with that line. Make it a little squiggly. Okay, same thing. I'm gonna go back to that third color. I still feel like it should be called salmon, but again, it's nectar. Okay, and then we'll just get a little less detailed on this one because we're kind of getting back into the background just a little bit more. Okay, working back, grabbing the next color, working back. Oh, I was like, where's that other tree? There it is, it's back there. Okay, and then I'm gonna go all the way back to my last layer, which was that nice yellow. And so what I'm gonna do now is just start to kind of pop out that back. And all I'm doing is just subtle strokes. And now I'm just gonna start to space them out as I approach the foreground. So just kind of at the back here, you're getting that really like haloed effect on the horizon. Again, working back out from that second color, kind of starting around that line there. Same thing, I'm just gonna build it up as a line, use just nice horizontal strokes, kind of spacing them out as I come down. Third color, same thing. Nice, and what I'm hoping this is doing is just giving me effect of like dappled light in a field. So, you know, like the trees are casting a really nice shadow, but it's like the sunlight coming through the leaves, and it kind of just sits on the ground. There we go. So that was nice and simple. I think what I might do though is just go ahead and I'm just going to pop that path back out. So I'm using my brightest color. I don't know why. I'm going to just go down to the second one. Okay, so it just pops that path back out, makes it a little more present. There we go. And then why not? Let's just put a little bit of focus onto that path. Okay. So there you have it. So that's exercise 1, nice and simple. We've just sort of created a field of trees. Yeah, a really quick lesson, but it just gives us a chance again just to sort of play with different shades of color. This is kind of a meditative exercise. It's not too complicated, but you can take an effect like this and put it into so many drawings where if you really want to add depth of perception, you're getting it with that subtle feeling of perspective. And then again, that atmospheric perspective where as the objects get further away, they get lighter in color. So that's it for today. Thank you so much. I always say if you want to finish off a drawing, make sure you sign it. So there you go. Maybe that's drawing 1 of 2023 for you. Okay, thanks for joining. Have an awesome day.